Morning to everyone. Namaskar to all. This is Balneet Singh Bedi. I welcome all of you to the daily news analysis session by Tathastu ICS. Good morning Bishan, Khan Bhai, Rehan Malik. I guess you students are very consistent and very disciplined. Lokesh, Dheeraj. Good morning everyone. Let's begin. So, as we know, we are here to discuss the Hindu analysis of Delhi edition 22nd of February 2025. I have bifurcated the important headlines into two parts, Mains Manthan and Prelims Sarthi. Under this, all these topics are important from the mains perspective and these from the prelims perspective. Good morning Nancy, Mikku, Thippe Swami, Ruchi, Vikas. Good morning. Let's begin. So, I'll just give you a brief gist of what these news are about so that you have an idea that what we are going to discuss ahead in the session, and then we will proceed. So, the first news is talking about the court case backlogs which can be converted into treasure troves. So, this editorial is talking about the backlog of cases the highest court of appeal, Supreme Court has, High Court has and the subordinate court has, and what is the mechanism or what's the procedure to reduce the backlog. So the editorial is talking about the solutions. What solutions are there to reduce the pendency of the cases? We will discuss this here. Then the second talks about the US visit viewed through industry business lens. As we all know, Honorable Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, has went to US few days ago. He met Donald Trump and all the bilateral ties they have discussed, and what sort of business opportunities are there for the Indian businessmen and what sort of bilateral ties and bilateral improvements both the countries can make. So all this we will discuss under this article. And then comes southern discomfort. What southern discomfort is about, what this editorial says, it's more sort of political dispute, more sort of political meddling between the state government and the union government, and particularly those state government which are ruled by the Congress party at the state level and versus the BJP government at the central level. And the altercation is based on what? Is based on the UGC regulations, because UGC has decided to appoint the teachers in the university, the professors in the university, as well as the vice chancellors. So state government is having a issue with the rules and regulations and they are protesting for that. And last, sexual equality must be a part of the syllabus. This has been the verdict sort of by Justice Bengaluru Venkataramaya Nagaratna. This is the Honorable Supreme Court Judge. So she has said that sexual equality must be a part of the school curriculum. We will see that why it's important and what are the motives behind this judgment and what benefits the society can have because of this. And then we have Jhumar dance and center to put more critical minerals on auction. This we will discuss once we reach there. So the first editorial talks about converting court case backlogs into treasure troves. It's in news. Why it's in news? Because of the judicial reforms, because of the ADR mechanism and access to justice, pendency of cases. It covers the syllabus, that is Indian polity and governance. Now you tell me, I can see so many comments over there. Now tell me, access to justice comes under which fundamental right? Rehan, Priyanka, all of you are live, you are very active in commenting. So tell me, access to justice comes under which fundamental right? Right. And then we will begin with the news. So, Supreme Court has 82,000 pending case and High Court has over 62 lakh pending case and lower courts close to 5 crore cases. Just look at the huge pendency of cases, 82,000 in Supreme Court, then High Court has 62 lakh and lower courts has 5 crore pending cases. and approx 50 lakh cases are pending for over 10 years. look at the huge pendency, huge numbers, right? And structural issues are there. There's low judge to population ratio. That means 21 judges per million people, among the lowest globally. We have just 21 judges per million population. Million is 10 lakh. 10 lakh लोगों के लिए सिर्फ 21 judges हैं, right? So that is the lowest in India, and that too at the global level. And if I talk about US here, US has 150 judges per million population, right? Of course, their population is just around 34 CR and we are 140 CR, right? There is no comparison, but still they have 150 judges per million and we have just 21 judges per million population. अब cases इतने ज़्यादा होंगे, judges इतने कम होंगे, so automatically there would be higher pendency of cases, right? And then comes the structural issues, the adversarial system, which encourages multiple interim applications and appeals, delaying resolutions. What is adversarial system? Adversarial system means that it's a legal system sort of जहां पे दोनों पार्टीज कोर्ट के पास आती हैं एंड दे आस्क फॉर टेम्परेरी स्टेज कि आप अभी स्टे लगा दो या आप अभी ये वाला ऑर्डर पास कर दो ड्यू टू n number of circumstances, and all of that which encourages multiple interim applications. बीच में बहुत सारी applications लगती रहती हैं of both the opposing parties, which lead to delayed in the resolutions, which lead to delayed in the orders, right? Absolutely. Yeah, that comes under Article 21, that is right to life and personal liberty. I asked you about access to justice, it comes under right to life and personal liberty, right? Then we have infrastructural and financial deficiencies as well. We have limited resources which hinders the judicial efficiency, but the union budget has given a good amount this year, so let's see how much it will be utilized at the grassroots level. Then government is the major litigant in nearly 50% of the court cases exacerbating pendency. That means government के साथ इतनी problems हैं, इतने cases में government is one of the parties. So we have around 50% of the court cases where government is the party, and that is one of the reasons of the pendency of cases. Then the editorial is talking about that what is the role of mediation in reducing the backlogs, right? Mediation is a form of what? It's a form of ADR, that is Alternative Dispute Resolution. So mediation कैसे इस चीज में help कर सकता है? Mediation was formalized in 2005. It offers an alternative dispute resolution mechanism, as I've mentioned. It encourages voluntary settlements with a neutral mediator, reducing litigation burden. And it works well for civil, commercial, matrimonial and property disputes. So what the editorial is saying कि mediation is one of the solutions to this. Why? Because it encourages voluntary settlement. Mediation में होता क्या है? एक पार्टी कोर्ट से पहले ही उस प्रॉब्लम को, उस केस को सॉल्व करने की कोशिश करती है and it delivers the verdict for that. Right? And what are the other two mechanisms? Anyone knows? One is mediation. We have 3 in total. Anyone in the comment section? We have arbitration. Then we have conciliation. And the third one is mediation. Now arbitration is a more formal process if we compare it with the mediator. In arbitration, we appoint a neutral third party which would listen to both the opposing sides, and by listening to both the opposing sides, they would give their own verdict, right? And conciliation is mostly for labor disputes. It's mostly for, I would say, family matters, right? Conciliation deals with that. So we have 3 mechanisms: arbitration, conciliation and mediation. So it works well for civil disputes, commercial disputes, matrimonial disputes and property disputes. Right? Now what are the advantages of mediation? Firstly, it leads to quicker resolution. That means अब कोर्ट में अगर केस नहीं आएगा, कोर्ट के आने से पहले उसे सॉल्व करने की कोशिश करेंगे तो ऑटोमेटिकली, राइट, It would lead to quicker resolution. Most cases resolve in few sessions. 1, 2, 3 सेशन में केसेस को रिजॉल्व कर दिया गया, कंप्लीट कर दिया गया, सो दैट हमारी उतनी पेंडेंसी ना हो. लाइक 5 करोड़ 82,000 केसेस, वैसी पेंडेंसी में वो केसेस ना आए. देन कम्स लोअर कॉस्ट बोथ फॉर लिटिगेंट्स एंड द जुडिशियल सिस्टम. बेसिकली कोर्ट में जब आप इतने चक्कर लगाते हो तो आपका खर्चा बढ़ता है, राइट? यू आर ट्रैवलिंग, दिस दैट, लॉयर की फीस, एडवोकेट की फीस, एवरीथिंग. उससे पहले ही अगर एक रूम में बैठ के उस चीज को सॉर्ट आउट कर दिया जाए 1 सेशन में, 2 सेशन में, तो इट रिड्यूसेस द कॉस्ट, राइट? So it reduces the cost both for the litigants and the judicial system. Litigants can be anyone, a person, a group, a entity which is involved in the lawsuit, which attends the legal disputes, right? So litigants are those. Then it restoration of relationship. Unlike litigation, mediation fosters mutual agreement and goodwill, right? अब वो बहुत जब mediation process को हम अपनाते हैं as a ADR mechanism, what happen is that it leads to mutual agreement. दोनों पार्टीज एक कमरे में या जैसे भी एक न्यूट्रल थर्ड पार्टी के सामने एक म्यूचुअली अपने दोनों की चीजों को डिसाइड करके अपनी गुडविल को मेंटेन रखते हैं, अपने रिलेशंस को भी मेंटेन रखते हैं, और जो भी डिस्प्यूट है उसको भी इजीली सॉल्व आउट करते हैं, राइट? सो मीडिएशन इज वन ऑफ द वेज व्हिच कैन बी implemented to reduce the pendency of the cases. Now what's the way forward? So the editorial says there should be a structured process to identify suitable cases for mediation. Mediation के लिए जो भी suitable cases हैं, because see बेटा, हर case Babri Masjid type case can't go to mediation. It has to go to Supreme Court. There are few cases that can be solved through mediation. So there should be a structured process. उस process के तहत जो भी केसेस को मीडिएशन के थ्रू सॉल्व करा जा सकता है उसको हम स्ट्रक्चर्ड प्रोसेस के थ्रू सॉल्व आउट करेंगे. देन देयर शुड बी एस्टैब्लिश अ प्री लिटिगेशन रिजोल्यूशन बोर्ड टू रिजॉल्व डिस्प्यूट बिफोर रीचिंग द कोर्ट्स. देयर शुड बी प्री लिटिगेशन रिजोल्यूशन बोर्ड जो कोर्ट पे केस जाने से पहले ही उसे सॉल्व आउट कर ले. इंप्रूव जज टू पॉपुलेशन रेशियो. वी जस्ट हैव 21 पर मिलियन, राइट? सो इस रेशियो को भी Parliament needs to approve this. Parliament needs to improve this. Vacancies बढ़ानी पड़ेंगी, appointments ज़्यादा करने पड़ेंगे in High Court as well as maybe Supreme Court as well. We need to conduct awareness campaigns about the mediation benefits among litigants and legal professionals. We have to amend laws to de-incentivize frivolous litigation and make ADR a mandatory first step before formal court proceedings. Disincentivize frivolous litigation means कि जो भी झूठी कंप्लेन है, right? Because few of the complaints are there which are not for the legal basis, right? They just do it for some other purpose, some other illegal motive they do it. So we need to identify what are those frivolous cases, right? False claims are there. उसको हम de-incentivize करेंगे and make ADR a mandatory step. एक mandatory step बना दिया कि अगर आपके केस में ताकत है उतनी कि वो हाई कोर्ट तक जाए, सुप्रीम कोर्ट तक जाए, तभी वो जाएगा, otherwise it would not go, right? So in this you can learn any of the 1 or 2 points and you can jot down in the answers. Then comes the question, a mains practice question. You can write it for 250 words. I'll read the question for you. Judicial pendency is one of the biggest challenges to India's justice system. Discuss how mediation can serve as a viable solution to the problem and suggest measures to institutionalize it. Right? We have discussed all the points. Try to mention data when you are writing. Right? Just to population ratio, कितना हमारा pending cases है. You can make some sort of diagram, right? A cloud diagram. You can write subordinate courts. You can write high courts. You can write Supreme Courts, and you can try to add some more data and graphics as well. Now let's begin with the next news. The next news is about the US visit, which is viewed through industry's business lens. Why in news? Because of India-US relations. Because of India-US relations, bilateral agreements and the strategic partnership between India and USA. Which part of syllabus does it cover? We all know GS to international relations and business related news. So GS paper 3, that is Indian economy. So let's see what this editorial says. This editorial says that initiation of the first phase of bilateral trade agreement to reduce trade barriers and simplify regulations. Right, हमारा एक bilateral trade agreement होना चाहिए जिससे trade barriers reduce हो. We all know Trump is at its peak right now. Right, every day you will see his news about the tariff wars against Mexico, Canada, China, India as well. So I believe in geopolitical arena, our PM has taken the right step to visit US and initiate the dialogues with US so that they do not put much tariffs on us, on India, to reduce trade barriers and simplify regulations. We have set a target of $500 billion bilateral trade by 2030. We are aiming कि हमारा जो bilateral trade है that would reach by $500 billion. Right, presently it is just $129 billion. So we are aiming to reach almost $370 billion extra by 2030, supported by easier cross-border trade procedures. Right. So we are focusing on boosting industrial goods, exports from the US and labor-intensive exports from India. वहां से we are expecting कि जो industrial goods हैं, US would export to India and India would export labor-intensive exports, for example, textiles, IT, pharmas, as well as agricultural products. Right? This is the graph which talks about the exports and the imports. Okay, tell me one thing. Which is the largest importer in the world? Which country is the largest importer in the world? Which country is the largest importer in the world? We are talking about that country only. It's none other than it's USA. Right, USA is the largest importer in the world. So US basically, apart from this, US is having trade deficit with almost majority of the countries. I am not saying all the countries, I am saying majority of the countries USA का trade deficit है. That means उसके पास import तो बहुत कुछ आ रहा है but export उतना नहीं जा रहा है. Right, so in order to cover this trade deficit, Donald Trump, the president of US, is taking all these drastic measures. Right? Yes, reciprocal trade tariff, USA, very good. So now what are the initiatives here? Right? The collaboration related to technological as well as innovation. So first, US-India trust to deepen technological partnership in defense, artificial intelligence, semiconductor industry, quantum computing, energy and space. Then we have Indus Innovation Initiative to accelerate research and development in emerging technologies. Then we have US-India AI Roadmap, which aims to boost AI startups, fintech, health tech and agri-tech, which benefit the India and the global south. Global south, all the developing countries which have common social and political characteristics. For example, they were under British colonialization or they were having colonial history. So they come under developing economies. So learn these initiatives, right? You have to learn it by heart. What you have to learn? US-India Trust Initiative. You have to learn Indus Innovation Initiative. Indus is IND, India, US Innovation Initiative. Then US-India AI Roadmap. Learn it, right? Try to mention it in your notes. Just scribble down. Right? If India-US question comes, you have to mention these three initiatives. Right? This will make your answer look better. Then it talks about the defense as well as the security partnership. It talks about a 10-year framework for the US-India major defense partnership to enhance technology transfer, joint production and industrial cooperation. You can write just this: major defense partnership, right? To enhance technological transfer, joint production and industrial cooperation. There are more agreements on co-production of defense equipment, India's indigenous manufacturing and skill development. अब हमने कहा है जो भी defense equipment को हम produce करेंगे, right? That we will produce like in a collaborative manner, right? In which both countries would be involved. And US would support indigenous manufacturing in India. That means make in India. India mein hi banega for India, right? And we're not gonna import from US. Rather, it would help. US would help with the technological transfer as well, so that हम India में चीजों को या machines को develop कर पाए, right? Then they also talked about energy security and climate cooperation. Nowadays, beta, if Prime Minister is going anywhere, there would be no country with which we are not dealing with energy security and climate cooperation. We all know about the pollution, right? Our world is moving at a faster pace towards energy security, towards electrical vehicles, right? So we are reducing the consumption of coal and moving towards renewable energy. We are moving towards clean energy, right? So it's gonna strengthen the long-term energy collaboration with US firms which assist in hydrocarbon production and natural gas supply. India's budget focuses on small modular nuclear reactors with US companies aiding in their development, right? This was famous announcement in the budget this year. Okay, you tell me, what are small modular reactors? What are SMRs? Anyone? What is SMR? It was mentioned by Finance Minister as well. Anyone? SMR. Okay, just tell me SMR, the power generating capacity of these reactors. No Google. If you know, you know. So small modular reactors are advanced nuclear reactors with a power generating capacity of up to 300 megawatt, right? Learn this, right? We have small modular reactor which have a power generating capacity of 300 megawatt, right? And budget में कितने announce हुए हैं? What did our finance minister said? How many are we aiming to build in India? We are aiming to build 5 small modular reactors by 2033, right? By 2033, we are aiming to build 5 small modular reactors. It also supports for India's net zero targets through clean energy initiatives. Net zero targets, anyone? When India is aiming to achieve net zero? By which year? By 2070. In which summit our Honorable PM has announced this? It has announced in COP26, which happened in Glasgow. Glasgow is in Scotland, UK, right? It's a reverse engineering process. If I'm telling you all of this, we are revising additional points as well. We are not stick. Very good. Now there are so many comments. Srimant Khan Bhai, Ruchi, Neha, Thipe Swami, Priyanka Rana, Charita, Rehan, Priyanka, Vikas, all of it. Yes, it's 300 megawatt, 2070, 5 SMR by 2033 and COP26 Glasgow, Scotland. So we are covering the news, and along with that, we are revising additional dimensions. We are revising additional information as well. Then infrastructure and digital economy cooperation. Now what are the initiatives at the global level? Right, we have India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor for joint railway, roadway and industrial zone development. So this IMAC is an ambitious trade and infrastructure project between the continents to connect them for economic cooperation, जिससे easily trade किया जा सके. Right, so how it will go? It will go from India to Middle East and Middle East to Europe. Right, so it's India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor for joint railway, roadway and industrial zone development, right? There's undersea cable project to strengthen India-US digital connectivity, boosting India's IT and service exports as well. This undersea cable project is very, very important, beta. Undersea cables, jo ocean ke niche cables which hai na, that is the backbone of the internet. When I say backbone of the internet, around 90% of the internet which we are using, it all get transfers from there. And who's the owner of that? The big US tech giants, right? Even Meta has announced one of the project, that is Project Waterworth, right? They're also planning to lay down the undersea cables which is worth 50,000 kilometers. So it's also a massive project, right? Then comes the higher education and workforce mobility, plans for US universities to set up campuses in India, improving access to global education, and measures to streamline legal mobility for Indian students and professionals. I hope we see this sort of initiative on ground as well, because we have seen the deportees, the illegal immigrants who have just almost last week they have reached India. So we know what kind of conditions in which they were sent from US to India, and they were disheartening to see. So what's the way forward? We should prioritize key sectors, that is IT, pharma, textiles, semiconductors, to facilitate trade growth. Implement technology transfer mechanism. सिर्फ हम import ही नहीं करेंगे US से, we want the technology transfer as well. नहीं तो वो बनाते रहेंगे, हमें import करते रहेंगे, हमारा बिल लंबा आता रहेगा, right? So we want कि आप हमें import करो, but हमें साथ साथ में technology भी दो, right? चाहे yearly gap में दो, but दो, so that we can manufacture in India as well, right? Then there should be increase in investment in clean energy and nuclear technology collaboration. We need to expedite infrastructure development and trade connectivity. We have to establish joint research and development centers and digital infrastructure to promote technology startups. All these are very basic points. Learn any one or two for your exams. Now, next talks about the southern discomfort. As I have told, it's in news because of the state opposition to the UGC draft regulations. It covers the syllabus of Indian polity and governance. So what's happening here? UGC has framed few rules and regulations which is giving UGC a upper hand in the appointment as well as the transfer of the faculties and professors at the university level, and even appoint the vice chancellors of the state universities. So state government को ये चीज बिल्कुल अच्छी नहीं लग रही है, because they are saying कि you are entering our domain, because UGC chairman is appointed by executive central government, right? Whatever sarkar is at the center, BJP sarkar is appointing the UGC chairman, and that institution is bringing rules and regulations which are creating discomfort to the southern states. Why it has been mentioned southern states? अगर ये इंक्रोच कर रहे हैं स्टेट की पावर में, तो प्रॉब्लम तो सारी स्टेट्स को होनी चाहिए. इट्स अ प्रॉब्लम फॉर द स्टेट्स विच आर रूल्ड बाय कांग्रेस गवर्नमेंट और विच आर रूल्ड बाय नॉन बीजेपी पार्टी, right? For example, we have Kerala in this, we have Karnataka in this, we have Telangana, we have Himachal, we have Punjab, we have Tamil Nadu. All these states are having discomfort. So basically this news is not important from your UPSC perspective, but the context here is very important from the UPSC perspective. So what I have done, I have brought you a question based on that. News is this: UGC is creating problem for the state governments, but the context is about the delegated legislation which is mentioned in the article in the newspaper clipping as well. So I framed a question and I'll try to discuss the answer of this as well. So explain the concept of delegated legislation and discuss its implications on the plenary legislative powers of the state within a federal structure. Right, now what is delegated legislation? Delegated legislation refers to the rules, the regulations, the bylaws, the orders which are framed by a ministry or a department or a local bodies, and it gets implemented at the grassroots level. Now we will see, I'll read the definition so that it becomes more clear to you, right? Now, delegated legislation refers to the rules, the regulations, the bylaws and the orders made by the executive authorities under a statute passed by the legislature. अब अगर नहीं समझ में आया तो मैं दोबारा से बताता हूं. What this definition is saying: it refers to rules, regulations, bylaws and orders made by the executive under a statute. Statute means law, right? Now, okay, I'll give you an example for your better understanding. Suppose Indian Parliament has passed a Road Safety Act. इंडियन पार्लियामेंट, लोकसभा, राज्यसभा बैठे, उन्होंने रोड सेफ्टी एक्ट को सब कुछ ड्राफ्ट वगैरह किया. दे वेंट थ्रू द ऑल द प्रोसेस एंड उसके बाद पास करके प्रेसिडेंट द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी गेव हर सिग्नेचर ऑन दैट. एक्ट बन गया, इट्स फाइनल. Now parliament doesn't have that much time that it will decide कि road safety में कितनी speed होनी चाहिए, अगर ये गाड़ी इतनी स्पीड से चल रही है तो इसका चलान कितना होना चाहिए. All of these minute details, parliament and state legislature doesn't have time to discuss this. So what they do, they delegate. Delegate means एक above authority से नीचे authority पे दे देना. उन्होंने उस delegate किया to the transport ministry, to नितिन गडकरी जी, to the department of road safety for example. उन्होंने मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ रोड ट्रांसपोर्ट एंड हाईवेज को बोला हमने एक्ट पास कर दिया, रूल्स रेगुलेशंस आप बना दो, क्या चलान होना चाहिए, कितनी स्पीड में गाड़ी चलेगी, ट्रक चलेगा, फोर व्हीलर चलेंगे, टेम्पूज चलेंगे, ऑल ऑफ दैट रोड सेफ्टी के रूल्स रेगुलेशंस आप बनाओ. सो इट रेफर्स टू द रूल्स, द रेगुलेशंस, द बायलॉज, द ऑर्डर्स मेड बाय द एग्जीक्यूटिव. दीज आर एग्जीक्यूटिव. एग्जीक्यूटिव मींस द लोकल बॉडीज, द डिपार्टमेंट्स, द मिनिस्ट्री. That's the executive authorities under a statute law. Legislature ने तो अपना law pass कर दिया, right? Legislature ने अपना law pass कर दिया, उसके अंडर के जो rules and regulations हैं वो ये executive authorities बनाएंगी. That is delegated legislation. Right. Now what's the purpose of the delegated legislation? Is to provide administrative efficiency and technical expertise in rule making, as parliament and state legislature cannot anticipate every detail. Right, this I have told कि वो छोटी छोटी details नहीं बना सकते parliament and state legislature. That is the work of the these executive authorities to provide administrative efficiency, technical expertise देना ministry का काम है. Right, now what are statutory instruments? Which are rules framed under a legislative act. Those are rules, regulations are statutory instruments. Bylaws made by the local and statutory bodies. Executive orders, these are the directions issued by the executive for implementation. Right, then we will see how it's impacting the legislative power of the state. राइट, ये डेलीगेटेड लेजिस्लेशन स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को कैसे अफेक्ट कर रहा है या इसकी लेजिस्लेटिव पावर पे कैसे इंक्रोच कर रहा है. वी विल सी इंक्रोचमेंट ऑन स्टेट पावर्स. The first point says union government issues rules and regulations that may conflict with the state laws violating the federal structure. अभी रूल्स रेगुलेशंस तो बना रहा है बट इट्स इन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट विद द स्टेट लॉज व्हिच violates the federal structure. That means यूनियन एंड स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के बीच की जो पावर का डिवीजन है उसको वो वायलेट कर रहा है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल फार्म लॉज, राइट, 2020 में आए थे. देयर वाज किसान आंदोलन इन दिल्ली, शंभू बॉर्डर, though it's been repealed now, which were enacted under an entry in the concurrent list overriding states' existing agricultural policies. These laws were in conflict with the agricultural policies of the state. So it's the example कि कब encroachment हो रहा है. Second point says Article 245 and 246 of the Constitution define the legislative competence of the union and the states. Delegated legislation by the center sometimes bypass state laws, weakening state autonomy in policy implementation. Now what Article 245 says? Article 245 talks about the extent of laws made by the parliament and the state legislature. 245 article कह रहा है because Himachal has Congress government, Vaishnavi, right? So they are having problem with the UGC. So Article 245 is talking about the extent of laws made by the parliament as well as the state legislature, and 246 talks about the division of that legislative power in state list, union list, state list and concurrent list. Right, so of the constitution divide the legislative competence. Right, इसने बताया हुआ है कि यूनियन आप ये बनाओगे एंड स्टेट गवर्नमेंट आप ये वाले बनाओगे. तो इन दोनों के बीच में एक डिफरेंस, एक डिवीजन ऑफ पावर्स ऑलरेडी संविधान में मेंशन्ड है अंडर आर्टिकल 246. Right, delegated legislation by the center sometimes bypass state laws, weakening state autonomy and policy implementation. It's a basic point. Then second comes lack of parliamentary scrutiny. It's not debated in parliament. अब मैंने एक्ट तो पास कर दिया, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ रोडवेज एंड ट्रांसपोर्ट ने रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस भी बना दिए. राइट, अब वो रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस दोबारा पार्लियामेंट में नहीं आएंगे अप्रूव होने. Right, that would directly be published on the website. Website as in it would be implemented across the length and breadth of the country. It's not debated in the parliament the way primary legislation is. States are often not consulted even when regulations affect areas under state jurisdiction. See, this is a problem since independence. हर चीज में स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को कंसल्ट नहीं किया जाता और ना ही कर सकते हैं. I believe you can't consult all the states in each and every matter. especially which are related to states as well, because that would create a lot of conflict. It would be difficult to, govern 140 crore people like this, right? But again, a balance has to be there. Balanced approach has to be there, where it's mandatory to consult the state government. Their union government should consult the state government in order to have cooperative federalism, right? And judicial concern, the Supreme Court has ruled in multiple cases that executive rule making cannot override plenary legislation by the states, right? Supreme Court ने काफी बार कहा है कि जो भी executive अपने decisions लेगा, union government अपने decisions बनाएगी, right, that cannot override plenary legislation by the states. In state of Tamil Nadu versus Union of India case, the SC has observed that delegated legislation cannot override the federal structure of the constitution. This is important, right? You use this example, jot it down, scribble it in your notes. In GS2 polity, just scribble. State of Tamil Nadu versus Union of India, Supreme Court, delegated legislation, just arrow, so that you can have a gist. Delegated legislation cannot override the federal structure of the constitution, right? Now, what's the way forward? Any delegated legislation affecting state subjects should be made after consultation with the concerned state government. Parliamentary and state legislative committees should review delegated legislation, check for conflict with the state laws. We have discussed both these points. Supreme Court and High Court should have a structured mechanism to assess and strike down the rules that infringe upon state power. Supreme Court और High Court के पास इतनी power होनी चाहिए कि अगर कोई भी provision Union Government ने बनाया है तो वो दोनों कोर्ट उस provision को strike down कर सकें, to be declared null and void. In other words, judicial review. Delegated legislation must ensure speedy governance while maintaining a constitutional principles of federalism, right? And last point, a balanced approach, which we talked about. A balanced approach where both the union and the states cooperate in rule making is essential to maintain the spirit of cooperative federalism, right? This we can learn. There should be a balanced approach for cooperative federalism, right? Then let's come to the last editorial, and then we have two prelims news. Now this is important from three subjects, that is GS1 Indian Society, then we have GS paper 2 Governance and Social Justice, and last GS4, that is Ethics, Integrity and Aptitude, right? So this is the syllabus. And why it's in news? Because of the SC judgment, which covers gender equality, moral education and gender sensitization, right? Then we will see. So the Supreme Court bench led by Justice B.V. Nagaratna, beta, her name, her first name has a city name in it, right? It's Justice Bengaluru Venkataramaya Nagaratna. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. So Justice Nagaratna emphasized the need to include sexual equality, moral training and etiquette in the school syllabus. Now, why Justice has said this, that why sexual equality, moral training and etiquette needs to include in the school curriculum? Why sexual equality, right? So that there should be right knowledge to the students about their bodies, about their rights, about their relationships, their responsibility in decision making. They should be aware. So this needs to be talked about. This needs to be included in the school curriculum. Then second is moral training. Why moral training? Moral training should be there to inculcate strong ethical values, to build character in students, right? To have more honesty, more kindness, more compassion towards the society. This needs to be taught. Then last, etiquette. Why etiquette should be taught? To have professional success, to have social success, to have table manners, very basic, it needs to be taught. To have, when you are traveling in metro or in public transport, you need to have manners, you need to have etiquettes, to not push. We all know what happened. Crowd mismanagement, New Delhi railway station, stampede. We know 18 people were killed. So I'm not blaming it all on the people, but these are the basic etiquettes, right? We all need to be aware of that, and that need to be taught as well, as said by Justice Nagaratna. She called for early stage education on how men should respectfully behave with women, right? Early stage education, that how men should behave with women. Justice Nagaratna pointed out discrimination starts with parents who focus on restraining daughters but not sons. Stressed that the word discrimination must be erased from the social vocabulary. Right, there's a link between lack of education and rising crimes against women. Advocate Abhat Munda's petition highlighted that the rise in crimes against women is due to lack of basic education on gender equality. There is increased crimes against women because there is lack of basic education. लोगों को basic education ही नहीं है gender equality की. It's because of the social media. You talk about Instagram, Facebook, Snapchats and all the social media platforms. It creating those awareness. Right? Oh, there's a term called gender equality. So what she's saying, this needs to be taught right from 5th class maybe. Right? When the student, when a child is mature, little mature enough to understand, to get the essence of what's being said. Gender equality, we can see it at our homes as well. Right? It starts with the home. So she's focusing on parents as well. Right? And then she's saying, call for education at an early level to change societal attitudes. Then there should be awareness campaigns on stringent laws, which suggested advertising strict anti-rape laws in cinema halls and media for public awareness, and stress punishment alone is not the solution. Mindset change is needed. It's a very important point. In my humble opinion, it's a very important point. You just can't punish a person. Mindset is very important. Mindset needs to be changed. Once mindset is changed, it's very easy. It's very easy to implement the changes in the society. Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, if it's working, why it's working? Because of the mindset, because of the advertisements that have been made. लोगों का mindset change हो रहा है that we should keep our country clean, we should keep our Bharat clean, and that's why Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is a success. Right, there is a need of social reform. Justice Nagaratna noted that many still believe women do not belong to either their parents or in-laws' home, called for awareness on women's independence, dignity and equality. Now, there's a quote as well, to educate a girl is to reduce poverty. Right, it just came in my mind. To educate a girl, to educate a woman is to reduce poverty. Once we educate a woman, right, there are high chances that the coming generations would be educated only. Right, even we have been taught by our mothers. Right, because if they could not get that education, or if they got the education, they could not get the platform to work. So they made sure कि हम अच्छे से पढ़ें and we move ahead in our life, be it a daughter, be it son. Right, so what's the way forward? It introduced structured moral and ethical education modules in schools. There should be moral and ethical education modules. There should be more use of mass media, cinema halls, digital platforms to spread awareness on gender equality and strict laws against sexual crimes. Conduct gender sensitization workshop for parents and educators, engage NGOs, civil society, religious institutions in spreading awareness on women's right and dignity, and ensure stringent enforcement of laws while focusing on preventive measures and education. Then we comes to prelims topic. This was mentioned in the front page. It's an event going on in Jumoir Binandini. Sorry for the pronunciation, I'll repeat it again. Jumoir Binandini dance event. It's going on in Assam. Jumoir dance is of Assam and I would say of Eastern India. Right, it's being performed in Jharkhand as well, Odisha as well, most of the states, but it's there, so I thought to cover it up. Jumoir dance is of Assam. And then the critical minerals. As such, it's not important news, but there were few minerals which were mentioned in the news, so I thought to just skim through. एक बार आप बस go through कर लेना कि okay, these are the minerals which we found in India and these are the ones which are scarce or which are not in India. Right? It's been mentioned here if you have a look, right, it's mentioned in this paragraph. So India's critical mineral reserves estimated is lithium, nickel, cobalt, graphite and rare earth element. That is this. Data is not important, right? You do not have to learn the data. You just have to know, okay, lithium is there, nickel is there, cobalt is there and graphite is there. And limited domestic resources of minerals, that is cobalt, niobium, germanium and rhenium. Right, all these, just skim through, have a glance through, just go through it once. Right, now you must be thinking cobalt idhar bhi hai, idhar bhi hai. This is high quality reserves of cobalt is not found in India, right? These are found in India. And critical minerals is often in news, so you know, expect a question. So do these topics, expected ones, really religiously, right? Now the question for you, it's a practice question. Jhumoi dance is a traditional folk dance of which Indian state? Answer me in the comment section. Absolutely right. Charita, Neha Goyal, Ashwini Patil, Khan Bhai, Vaishnavi Agnihotri, Dheeraj, Srimant, Priyanka Kherani. The correct option is B. Right? It's of Assam. Rest options I gave of Northern India. Himachal, Punjab and Madhya Pradesh. So the correct answer is Assam. Right? Correct answer is Assam. With this, we are done with today's daily news analysis session. We will see you on Monday. Till then, all the very best. Do well, be very disciplined, very consistent with your studies. Solve PYQs, do your foundational subjects अच्छे से, attend or do the practice test series very religiously. Do not get disheartened if you are not getting good marks. Just practice, and all the very best to you for 25th of May 2025. All the very best. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Thank you. Done. Belly.